you gonna help make it happen?
No,
No. Why?
because that's not the sequel I want to do.
So you
Sister Act.
What you want to do? Sister Act 3?
Yeah.
Yes.
Sister Act is not just a hilarious movie about nuns singing their hearts out. It is full of secrets, behind-the-scenes drama, and stories you've probably never heard. From wild on-set pranks to casting chaos, legal battles, and even Broadway adaptations, these 18 hidden facts will give you a whole new appreciation for this beloved classic. What's the wildest behind-the-scenes moment you can imagine happening on set? How would knowing these behind-the-scenes facts change the way you see the movie? Join us as we uncover 18 hidden facts behind Sister Act that no one ever knew. Number 18. Bette almost became a nun. Before Whoopi Goldberg made Sister Act a hit, the lead role of the singer hiding out as a nun was actually written with Bette Midler in mind. Apparently, Midler had some reservations about swapping her glamorous persona for a wimple. She later joked that her fans don't want to see me in a nun outfit, showing she had a pretty clear sense of what felt right or wrong for her career. Bette didn't slam the door on the role immediately, but she eventually talked herself out of it, according to screenwriter Paul Rudnick. She reflects on choices like these with a mix of humor and hindsight, noting that sometimes passing on a part can sting. For example, she admitted she also skipped Misery, a decision that didn't work out as well. Kathy Bates ended up snagging the role and an Oscar.
I would like to congratulate all the nominees this evening, especially those in this category. Their work
It's one of those what-if moments in Hollywood. The film could have had a very different energy with Midler in the lead. Whoopi's charm and comedic timing gave Sister Act its iconic vibe, but it's fun to imagine Midler belting out those gospel tunes instead. Sometimes career choices come down to gut feelings, personal style, or just knowing what your audience expects. Even though Whoopi ultimately made the role her own, it's interesting to look back at the film's origins and see how it might have been shaped differently from the very beginning. And that moves us to the next fact on this list. Number 17. Showgirls and inspiration. While the idea for Sister Act actually started with Bette Midler in mind, since the screenwriter Paul Rudnick first dreamed it up in the late 1980s as a chance to give Midler a starring vehicle. It wasn't just about making a fun movie, it was meant to poke fun at the overly sweet, prissy uplift of classics like The Sound of Music and The Flying Nun. As Rudnick once put it, it was showbiz versus the church, and showbiz would always win. Rudnick also drew inspiration from Some Like It Hot, looking for a comedy built around disguises. The image of nuns and showgirls suddenly clicked, and the premise of a performer hiding out in a convent was born. It was a perfect mix of humor, heart, and a little bit of rebellion. To get a feel for the real-life side of convent life, Rudnick spent a couple of days at the Abbey of Regina Laudis in rural Connecticut. This was the home of actress-turned-nun Dolores Hart, and the sisters there ran a farm, a dairy, and even a pottery studio to support themselves. The visit gave Rudnick some practical inspiration for the convent scenes in the film, especially for Sister Mary Lazarus's beloved convent tucked away in the woods. From its cheeky origins to the authentic touches borrowed from real nuns, Sister Act was shaped by a mix of classic comedy, clever disguises, and genuine curiosity about convent life. It's a reminder that even the quirkiest, most over-the-top comedies often have little roots in reality, and sometimes a spark from another era of Hollywood. And while Sister Act drew inspiration from real convent life and old-school Hollywood charm, some of its biggest what-ifs happened behind the scenes. In fact, before the cameras ever rolled, the film nearly took a wildly different creative turn, starting with who almost ended up calling the shots. Number 16. Almost a director. Before Sister Act hit theaters, Bette Midler had her own vision for who should direct the movie. She reportedly had her eye on Spanish filmmaker Pedro Almodóvar, fresh off his 1988 hit Women on the Edge of a Nervous Breakdown. Whether he ever knew about it is unclear, but the studio had other ideas. They were already set on Emile Ardolino, the director of Dirty Dancing, and an Oscar winner for the 1983 documentary He Makes Me Feel Like Dancin'.
It's a very special moment, and made more special by the fact that there are so many children here who were in the film to share it with me.
Ardolino ended up steering Sister Act, and his connection with Midler didn't stop there. He also directed her in a TV movie version of Gypsy, which racked up 12 Emmy nominations, including one for his directing and one for music direction. Tragically, the awards came after Ardolino passed away in November 1993 from complications related to AIDS, just weeks before the movie premiered. He was only 50. It's one of those bittersweet Hollywood stories. The movie thrived under his guidance, and Midler's star power shone, but the director never got to see the full acclaim for his work. Between Midler almost having a different director, her initial hesitation about starring, and Ardolino's untimely death, Sister Act could have easily been a very different film, or not happened at all. With so many near misses, changed minds, and behind-the-scenes twists, it's almost shocking that Sister Act turned out as polished as it did. But the chaos didn't stop with casting and directing decisions. Behind the script itself, the movie went through its own messy, surprisingly tense evolution. Number 15. Cheerleaders and Chaos. Joseph Rudnick, the guy behind the original Sister Act script, had a love-hate relationship with what eventually hit the screen. Once Bette Midler decided not to do the film, Rudnick found himself treading water in a sea of studio notes. The Disney suggestions came wrapped in the nicest, most polite phrasing imaginable. But that was part of the problem. It was like being crushed under a mountain of overly cheerful ideas that didn't really help the story. Even though Rudnick officially holds the sole writing credit for the movie, he was itching to step away. When his contract ran out in February 1991, he let the project go, leaving the script in the hands of what he jokingly called half of Southern California. By the time the final draft was done, Rudnick was so over it that he asked to have his real name removed. Instead, the movie credits list Joseph Howard, a pseudonym he cooked up just to distance himself from all the rewrites. As for the sequel, Sister Act 2, Back in the Habit, Rudnick had absolutely nothing to do with it.
At this Sister Act 2 reunion, you all look the same.
Yet the credits still nod to him with a line about characters created by Joseph Howard. Kind of ironic, given how much he'd tried to step back from the whole thing. And that strange irony, being credited while quietly cut loose, pretty much sums up how unpredictable Sister Act's journey really was. Once Rudnick stepped away, Dolores' story suddenly became up for grabs, passed from one creative mind to another. So just how many hands did it take to finally shape the Dolores we know today? Number 14. The many hands behind Dolores. After Joseph Rudnick stepped back from Sister Act, Disney-owned Touchstone Pictures didn't waste any time bringing in new writers to shape the story. Top Gun scribes Jim Cash and Jack Epps Jr. were first up, tasked with cranking up the danger for Dolores and tweaking locations to make things feel more exciting. But the script bounced around even more after that. Rudnick was eventually brought back, even though he wasn't thrilled about the changes, especially when he heard Goldberg wanted to rename his original character, Terry Van Cartier, to Dolores. Apparently, she'd always dreamed of playing a character with that name. Once the casting was locked, the project brought in some heavy-hitting talent behind the scenes. Nancy Meyers, who hadn't directed yet but had a solid track record writing films like Jumpin' Jack Flash, took a turn shaping the story. Then, in a move that added some sparkle to Goldberg's lines, Carrie Fisher, Goldberg's friend and a skilled script doctor, got involved to punch up the dialogue. Even Robert Harling, the writer behind Steel Magnolias, had a hand in the mix. By the time all these writers had added their touches, Sister Act had become a true patchwork of ideas and voices. It's the kind of behind-the-scenes shuffle that can either make a movie feel messy or, in this case, create the perfect storm for a beloved comedy classic. Dolores' story may have changed names, locations, and even the way her lines were delivered. But the combination of so many talented minds helped turn the film into the iconic hit we know today. With so many voices shaping the story, Sister Act had already become a creative patchwork before filming even began. And when it came time to shoot, that patchwork meant the cast and crew had to think on their feet, adapting lines.
The two of them in Sister Act, that should happen.
Honestly.
Let's make it happen.
But
Well,
that's a
yeah.
no-brainer.
Make it happen.
Does Disney not want to do that?
No.
Scenes and characters as they went. How did they manage to pull it off without the script ever being truly finished? Number 13. Shooting on the fly. Even with all those writers jumping in, the cast and crew showed up to work with an unfinished script. Director Emil Ardolino later admitted it was tricky. The script had originally been written for Bette Midler. So when Whoopi Goldberg stepped in, a lot of adjustments were needed. What was supposed to take a couple of weeks ended up being a much longer scramble. Shooting out of order only added to the stress. Scenes weren't fully written yet, so Ardolino and Whoopi often had to figure out what came before and after on the spot. Despite the chaos, they kept rolling and made it work, a testament to their creativity and commitment. Ardolino noted that while Whoopi had her own run-ins with the studio, he and she managed to stay focused. Every day, they made sure a scene was shot, and even though there were moments of complaining and stress, they never let it stop production. The two challenged each other creatively, which helped turn a messy situation into a polished, hilarious movie. Even with all the on-set stress and studio headaches, Ardolino and Whoopi found a rhythm, turning chaos into comedy gold. But just when things seemed under control, another curveball hit, one that could have changed Sister Act entirely. How close did Whoopi really come to losing her starring role? Number 12. Whoopi almost gets the boot. Even with the script chaos, the drama didn't stop on set. Back in the summer of 1991, Whoopi Goldberg almost got fired from Sister Act, and it had nothing to do with acting. She missed her first 3 appointments with vocal coach Seth Riggs, and the studio wasn't thrilled. Whoopi, of course, had an explanation. The meetings had been scheduled before she was officially under contract, so technically, she wasn't required to show up. Still, it made for some tense moments behind the scenes. It's easy to see how all the moving pieces, unfinished script, director juggling changes, multiple writers, and now Whoopi's scheduling drama made production feel like a high-wire act. Despite all that, the team pushed forward. Whoopi, Emil Ardolino, and the rest of the cast and crew managed to take the chaos and turn it into one of the most beloved comedies of the early 90s. It's kind of amazing when you think about it. Almost fired, shooting scenes that weren't fully written, and navigating a script that had switched stars and styles. Yet somehow, the movie came together, full of laughs, heart, and the iconic music that fans still love today. Considering everything Whoopi went through, from nearly getting fired to improvising with unfinished scenes, it's a wonder the movie even made it to the screen. But Sister Act's drama didn't stop behind the camera. Some of the biggest clashes were still brewing in the studio. So what happened when Whoopi squared off with the powers that be over casting choices? Number 11. The Hatchet Story. Back in 1992, Sister Act had more than just script headaches. It had some serious studio drama. Whoopi Goldberg and Touchstone Pictures boss Jeffrey Katzenberg clashed big time over who should play Dolores's love interest. Katzenberg wanted a black actor, but Whoopi pushed for considering white actors too. The argument reportedly got heated, with Goldberg firing back, "How long have you been in this business?" Enter Carrie Fisher, friend of both parties and the voice of reason. She suggested that Goldberg send Katzenberg a symbolic hatchet to bury the disagreement. True to form, Goldberg did exactly that and sent him a hatchet. Katzenberg didn't just let it sit there. He responded with a pair of giant brass balls, a cheeky acknowledgement of Goldberg's fearless stance. Somehow, that odd exchange became emblematic of the push-pull between creativity and studio politics during the making of the film. It wasn't just funny. It shows just how determined Whoopi was to have a say in her character and the story she was telling. Between script rewrites, vocal coaching drama, and unfinished scenes, the Hatchet incident was just another reminder that making movies, even comedies that seem light and easy, can get unexpectedly intense behind the scenes. At the end of the day, everyone survived the clash, the hatchets and the brass balls, and Sister Act went on to become a beloved classic, proving that a little drama off-screen can sometimes make for magic on-screen. But just when it seemed like the chaos was over, one big question still lingered behind the scenes. Who exactly was supposed to stand by Dolores's side when the cameras started rolling? Number 10. Finding Dolores's leading man. Casting Dolores's love interest, or more accurately, her protector, turned into its own little saga on Sister Act. Whoopi Goldberg just wanted someone great for the role, but things quickly turned into a debate about race. Harvey Keitel was already locked in as Vince, Dolores' dangerous married boyfriend. So this was for the part that eventually became Cop Eddie Souther. While Eddie didn't end up romantically involved with Dolores, it was clear he was charmed by her. Goldberg had some suggestions: Dennis Farina, Charles S. Dutton, even Gregory Hines, but the studio was walking on eggshells, mindful that this was a big project with a major black female star. At the end of the day, Do the Right Thing actor Bill Nunn got the role. Director Emil Ardolino explained that the studio really wanted to handle the casting thoughtfully. They knew this was a chance to cast a black actor in a strong, visible part alongside Whoopi. So it wasn't just about romance, it was about representation. Even though there were heated discussions behind the scenes, it all came together, giving Dolores a protector who was just as memorable as she was. And while casting choices sparked passionate discussions, they weren't the only moments where the creative team had to dig in their heels. What happens when an actor believes so strongly in their character that they're willing to challenge the script itself? That brings us to the next hidden fact: text wrapping break. Number 9. Mary Patrick's big-hearted stand. Kathy Najimy, the unstoppable sister. Mary Patrick, with the booming voice and endless cheer, wasn't about to let her character do something that didn't feel right. In Sister Act, there was a scene planned where Mary Patrick was supposed to protest in front of a neighborhood adult bookstore. Najimy felt it didn't sit well with the sweet, big-hearted personality she had built for her nun. She didn't want her character coming across as judgmental. Instead of arguing on set, Najimy worked with the team to find a fun, clever alternative that fit her character's vibe. They came up with a playful twist. Mary Patrick and the other nuns set up in front of the store, selling raffle tickets. The would-be customer quickly realizes it's going to be impossible to get inside with these cheerful, persistent nuns standing in the way. Mary Patrick's enormous smile alone was enough to throw him off, and the scene delivered laughs without making her character seem harsh or preachy. It was a small moment, but it perfectly captured why Najimy's performance resonated with audiences. She brought energy, warmth, and a sense of morality without ever being heavy-handed. Even in scenes that could have been played as confrontational or judgmental, she found a way to keep Mary Patrick's heart front and center. That mix of comedy and kindness became a hallmark of her performance, and one of the reasons Sister Act still feels so fun and approachable today. It's the kind of behind-the-scenes tweak that shows just how much care the cast took in shaping their characters, and why those nuns continue to charm audiences decades later. But that sense of compassion didn't stop once the cameras stopped rolling. What happens when the star of the movie uses her own setback to look out for everyone else on set? Number 8. Whoopi's generous pause. During the early days of Sister Act, Whoopi Goldberg came down with a cold, but she didn't just take the downtime for herself. She used it as a chance to check in on her fellow actresses and make sure they were being treated properly on set. Goldberg noticed that some of the older women weren't getting the amenities she thought they deserved. She wanted to make sure they could enjoy their time, have dinner without stress, and not worry about hotels or other logistics. She wasn't trying to make a scene or go on strike. It was just a little nudge in the right direction, timed with her coughs and sneezes. In the end, the production sorted out the issues, and Goldberg's quick intervention made life a little smoother for everyone. Kathy Najimy, who played the endlessly cheerful Sister Mary Patrick, fondly remembered those early days. Despite all the rumors swirling about behind-the-scenes drama during filming, Najimy told the LA Times she had a blast working with Goldberg. She called Whoopi the perfect example of generosity and talent, and said she had never had a better time making a movie. It's moments like these that show the kind of leader Goldberg was on set. She brought her star power, her humor, and her heart to the production, making sure the people around her felt valued. Between keeping spirits high, standing up for her co-stars, and delivering an unforgettable performance, Goldberg helped shape Sister Act into more than just a comedy. It became a movie full of warmth and laughter. But not everyone who helped make the first movie a hit got to be part of what came next. So what happens when an actor is more than ready for a sequel, and the sequel moves on without him? Text wrapping break. Number 7. Harvey's sequel wish. Harvey Keitel had a blast playing mobster Vince LaRocca in Sister Act, and he was hoping for more. The Oscar-nominated actor admitted in a 2021 interview that the one sequel he really wanted to do was Sister Act 2. He pictured a perfect follow-up. Vince gets out of prison and comes after Dolores. He was all ready for the drama, waiting for the call that never came. When his agent broke the news that he wasn't in the movie, Keitel was stunned. It wasn't like he was being replaced. Sister Act 2, Back in the Habit, just went in a different direction. The sequel moved the story to a high school, with Dolores posing as a nun to teach Catholic school. Sure, the plot had a few holes, but it was joyful fun all the same. Keitel took it in stride, though he clearly still had that Vince LaRocca storyline in his head. Now that Disney Plus has reportedly put Sister Act 3 in the works, Keitel has an idea for the perfect plot twist. He suggested picking up where he left off. Vince finally gets out of jail and goes after Dolores. It's a cheeky way to bring the original villain back, tie the story to the first movie, and give fans that long-awaited reunion with one of the series' most iconic bad guys. Even though he missed the last few films, Keitel clearly loves the world of Sister Act. Between the fun of filming, the crazy mix of nuns and mobsters, and the chance to imagine his own version of a sequel, it's easy to see why he still wishes Vince had a bigger role. One can only hope Disney takes note. After all, a little mobster mischief could make Sister Act 3 even more entertaining. But while some cast members were dreaming about sequels, others were busy causing chaos right there on set. So what really happened once the cameras were rolling and the habits came on? Number 6. Nun shenanigans on set. The nuns in Sister Act weren't just singing, they were total pranksters. Kathy Najimy, who played the ever-enthusiastic Sister Mary Patrick, had plenty of stories about the on-set mischief. As soon as Whoopi Goldberg heard action, she'd pull her hands out from under her habit to reveal oversized Mickey Mouse gloves, turning the scene instantly goofy. Najimy remembered one moment where they went from off-color charades and wild games with lewd lyrics straight back into hymn singing like nothing had happened. The fun didn't stop on set. Najimy and co-star Wendy McKenna kept their habits on for nights out while filming in Reno. Najimy loved gambling, so she'd hit the 21 tables in full nun regalia, drinks in front of them, while Wendy smoked. It was absurd, hilarious, and totally in the spirit of the cast's playful energy. One particularly bold prank involved room service. Najimy and McKenna answered the door in full habit, and just to shock the waiter, they had adult content playing on the TV behind them. Najimy recounted at the 2017 cast reunion how Wendy had even bet her $100 that she wouldn't laugh, and Najimy failed spectacularly. The mix of disciplined nun costumes and total silliness created some unforgettable behind-the-scenes moments. Between the Mickey Mouse hands, gambling nights, and outrageous pranks, the actresses clearly knew how to keep the energy light and fun, even while shooting long hours. It's easy to see why the cast remembers filming Sister Act as such a joyful, chaotic, and hilarious experience. But amid all the mischief and mayhem, one cast member stood out for doing the exact opposite: cool, composed, and quietly iconic. So who was the calmest presence in the convent, even while chaos swirled all around her? Number 5. The coolest, oldest nun. Maggie Smith, who played the stern and unamused Reverend Mother in Sister Act, has since become better known as the sharp-tongued Dowager Countess in Downton Abbey. But she still remembers her time in a habit fondly. During the 2017 cast reunion, she sent a video message full of warmth and nostalgia. She joked about being the oldest surviving nun from the movie and sent greetings to her fellow sisters, reflecting on the joy of making the films. She called the experience crazy, crazy, and remembered how much they laughed together on set. Even decades later, the memories clearly brought a smile to her face. It's sweet to see a legendary actress like Maggie Smith looking back at a comedy like Sister Act with such love and humor. For her, the movie wasn't just about nuns singing and causing chaos. It was about a group of talented people having a genuinely good time, and she still carries that fondness with her today. But while the cast remembers laughter and camaraderie, not every story tied to Sister Act is quite so warm. What happens when a feel-good comedy finds itself at the center of a very serious courtroom battle? Number 4. Sister Act legal drama. Not all the drama around Sister Act was on screen. Back in the day, actress Donna Douglas, famous as Ellie Mae Clampett on the Beverly Hillbillies, and her business partner Curtis Wilson made headlines by suing Whoopi Goldberg, Bette Midler, their production companies, talent agency CAA, and Disney. They claimed the Sister Act story had been ripped off from a script they'd sent to Disney in the 1980s, which was based on the book A Nun in the Closet. The lawsuit asked for a whopping $200 million, and apparently, the plaintiffs weren't satisfied with a quick settlement. They reportedly turned down a $1 million offer, hoping to win big in court. Ultimately, though, the judge sided with Goldberg and the studios, ruling in their favor and tossing the case. It's easy to forget that behind the laughs, catchy tunes, and nuns-in-disguise antics, there were high-stakes battles over who really came up with the story. In the end, the lawsuit became just another footnote in the long, colorful history of Sister Act, showing that sometimes Hollywood drama is almost as wild as what you see on screen. Even decades later, the film is remembered for its comedy, heart, and unforgettable performances, while the legal side is mostly a quirky reminder that ideas and scripts can spark some serious tension before a movie even hits theaters. But just when it seemed like the legal dust had finally settled, another claim emerged years later. Could Sister Act really have inspired more than one lawsuit? Number 3. Another nun. Another lawsuit. The legal drama around Sister Act didn't stop with Donna Douglas. In 2011, Disney and Sony Pictures found themselves in court again, this time facing a claim from a real-life nun, Deloy Blakely. Blakely alleged that her 1987 memoir, The Harlem Street Nun,
Queen Mother Dr. Deloise Blakely, I'm the community mayor of Harlem,
was the true inspiration for the movie. She initially dropped the complaint, but came back a year later with a huge ask: $1 billion in damages. Unfortunately for Blakely, the New York Supreme Court wasn't convinced, and in 2013, the case was dismissed with prejudice, meaning she couldn't bring it back. It's wild to think that a film about nuns hiding from the mob could inspire so many real-world legal battles, from claims of stolen scripts to disputes over memoirs. Even decades later, the lawsuits are a quirky footnote to a movie that's beloved for its humor, heart, and unforgettable performances. The Sister Act saga shows that sometimes the drama off-screen can be almost as entertaining and almost as messy as what happens on screen. Yet despite all the lawsuits and Hollywood headaches, the story refused to stay confined to the movie screen. So how did a film surrounded by controversy manage to find new life under the bright lights of Broadway? Number 2. Sister Act hits the stage. Even with all the lawsuits and behind-the-scenes drama, Sister Act still made its way to Broadway. The musical adaptation, years in the making, finally premiered in April 2011. It brought the story and songs to life in a whole new way, earning 5 Tony Award nominations, including Best Musical and Original Score for Alan Menken.
The Tony Award to the writers of the Best Original Score, Music and/or Lyrics. It's music by Alan Menken, lyrics by Jack.
Sadly, it only ran until August 2012, but it left its mark. Goldberg even got in on the fun, joining the West End production for a brief run. She slipped into Maggie Smith's iconic habit as the Reverend Mother, showing she could still command a stage just as well as she did the screen. Fans got to see a fresh take on the beloved nuns, mixing classic laughs with musical numbers, proving that Dolores' adventures aren't just for the movies, they work in song and dance too. But as Sister Act continues to evolve, its legacy doesn't just live on stage or screen, it's being passed down. So which version of the franchise resonates most with the next generation? Number 1. Next Gen Nuns. Apparently, when it comes to the Sister Act movies, Whoopi Goldberg's daughter has a favorite, and it's not the original. She's all about Sister Act 2, the sequel that pairs Goldberg with a young Lauryn Hill, Playing a teen,
Whoopi Goldberg and the cast of Sister Act 2 reunite on The View, played singer Lauryn Hill's.
with a bit of attitude and a powerhouse voice ready to dominate the all-state choir competition. The dynamic between Dolores and her students gives the movie a different vibe from the first one. And Goldberg thinks that's part of the appeal for her daughter. In a 2020 interview with Ella.com, Goldberg reflected on generational differences in taste. The sequel's energy, youthful cast, and musical focus clearly hit home with younger viewers, showing that the story of a runaway singer-turned-nun still resonates, even if it's the next generation discovering it in a different light. For Goldberg, it's interesting to watch her daughter connect with the story she helped bring to life decades earlier. Sister Act 2 has a different rhythm from the original. It leans more into the school setting, the students' individual personalities, and the thrill of competition, while still keeping that signature mix of humor and heart that made the first film such a hit. Which character from Sister Act stole your heart the most, and why? If you could join the convent for a day, which scene or moment from the movie would you want to be part of? Share your thoughts with us in the comment section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.